You can fall in love with doing hard work. Sounds impossible? Well, science says there is a motivational switch in your brain that can make even the toughest tasks irresistible. So, why do we avoid hard work, even when we know we shouldn't? Alright, let's just be honest, alright? So, how many times have you had big plans to wake up early and crush an important project only to slam that snooze button like it's going out of style? You lay there knowing you should get up, but the warm blanket seems to just pin you down by some magnetic force. We have all been there, right? At the end of another unproductive day filled with distractions, you feel genuine regret. Annoyed that once again you avoided tackling something challenging or meaningful, even though you know that great work gives you a great sense of pride. So why is it so tough to regularly do work that you know is good for you, but still can't seem to do it? Are we all just inherently lazy beings destined to the path of least resistance? Well, my friend, science gives us hope. Researchers have discovered two distinct types of motivation that drive our behavior. There's the extrinsic motivation and the intrinsic motivation. Extrinsic motivation is when you do something for external reward. Let's say for money, for trophy, attention from others, status, and etc. It's helpful to initially get started, but it's an unreliable fuel source for long term for one big reason. Our brains adapt to rewards shockingly fast. Like kids hyped up to eat at candy, the excitement quickly wears off. Remember the time when getting 100 likes on an Instagram post felt like awesome? Now you barely even notice it. It even takes like maybe 500 likes to even give you that little bit of rush. Same thing happens with raises, titles at work, and any other extrinsic reward. But then there is intrinsic motivation, the passion that comes from within just for sheer joy of doing something. No outcome is required to enjoy. You do the thing for the process itself versus any other price. Now, this force is way more powerful and sustainable than extrinsic motivation. Mostly because achieving goals we intrinsically care about also unlocks flow state. That magical zen mode where hours zip by and effort dissolves and our skills skyrocket. Flow then amplifies internal drive even more, creating a positive feedback loop. So how do we turn up more of this intrinsic stuff and less of the weak extrinsic motivation? Alright, let's look into how do we activate intrinsic motivation. Now, several researchers have proved this concept of flow state over the years. And here's what one of the researchers conducted in South Korea concluded. Intrinsic motivation directly impacts behavioral intention. There are 5 key intrinsic motivators buried in our brains that science shows can catapult internal motivation. When all 5 are unlocked, you become unstoppable, working for the pure pleasure rather than any external perks. Those big 5 are curiosity, mastery, purpose, autonomy, and autotelicity. I know fancy words, but let me just break down what each one means. So, first up, curiosity. This is feeling fascinated by the needing to learn everything about a topic. Like when you fall down random Wikipedia holes, that's curiosity. Without it, work stops when you leave the office. With it, work pulls you in 24/7. Next one is mastery, the non-stop pursuit of excellence and getting better. It's wanting to build skills whether you're paid to or not. Mastery releases feel-good neurotransmitters that get you into that hyper-focused flow state. Autotelicity, another big one, just means that you dig the actual tasks themselves rather than the outcome. Like being in the zone. When you're coding, gardening, painting, you do that thing for hours just because it's fun. No external profit matters. And then comes purpose, which is believing your work contributes to some greater good. So challenges feel worthwhile. And finally, autonomy, which is getting to choose how, when, and what you work on rather than being told what to do. Science tells us when all 5 intrinsic motivators are maxed out, you enter an upward spiral. The passion feeds the flow state, which then amplifies the internal drive even more. Rinse and repeat, it explains how geniuses like Einstein sustain crazy motivation for decades on what others just see it as drudgery. So now, how can we trigger our intrinsic motivators too? So let's look into activating each intrinsic motivator. Let's explore 5 specific tactics to crank up curiosity, mastery, purpose, and the rest one by one. To spark radical curiosity, it's important that gaining knowledge leads to clear, measurable results. For example, let's just say you want to learn how to cook a new dish. Rather than just reading the recipe, you should cook it, taste it, and evaluate the results. Did it turn out as expected? What could be improved the next time around? Now, with this hands-on approach, you create a tight feedback loop where learning leads to observable outcomes, fueling the desire to keep learning and improving. So in your work, implement micro experiments, like read one new sales strategy, then test it that week to see if sales spike. It's a quick cause and effect. If what you learn doesn't change actual work results, curiosity will slowly fizzle. To activate mastery, identify sub-skills that advance your big goals and meticulously build those. Treat it like how a pro athlete treats training specific muscle groups. For example, if your goal is to launch a successful baking business, master sub-skills like cake decorating, bread making, and pie crust techniques. Spend focused time practicing each one, analyzing your mistakes, and tracking incremental improvements. Mastering soars when your skills clearly link to outcomes that matter to you, like delighting future customers with your creations. Now for sparking autotelicity. Discover your natural talents, what you're already decent at. Flow state visits most easily to your own strengths. For instance, if you find you're naturally good at photography, make time for it outside of work. Experiment with new styles, subjects, and techniques for the sheer enjoyment. Let your interests guide you rather than expectations. Play from those strengths and then the passion comes. Next one, to unlock purpose. First, get clear on your life's mission in one sentence. I'm very sure this is not as easy as it sounds, but of course it's going to take a bit of digging within. Let's just say for this example, it is to empower kids to reach their potential. Then you map daily tasks directly to that North Star. This proven technique drives meaning, which sustains motivation despite all hurdles. Lastly, autonomy. Map current tedious tasks as stepping stones to your 5-year vision of running your dream company or non-profit or your side gig. This lens swap infuses daily grind with ownership. Right, in order to do this for a long term, we need to implement something called stacking. So to keep motivation sizzling, take these 5 motivator sticks, measure where you are today from, let's say, a scale of 1 to 10 on each of them, then strive to increase any laggards by 5 points annually. Do that until you hit intrinsic motivation mastery. Sure, we all get in funks and need to shuffle priorities, which kicks some of the motivators out of whack temporarily, but diagnosing dips this way allows for self-correction. So the next time you catch yourself binging shows to avoid a project, a check-in, you can ask yourself, is my autonomy too low? My sense of progress too vague? Then you know now you can target the exact driver that is in need of gasoline. When you get all 5 inner drives going, hard work starts feeling like play. You zoom into a state of flow where time disappears and effort feels easy. This inner motivation also means you need less external rewards to keep you pumped. Things like trophies or money become extras rather than the main reason that you work. You start making choices based on what internally excites you instead of what others expect. You will then tap into your own inner cheerleader rather than needing outside praise to decide if something is worth pursuing. Daniel Pink, the best-selling author on motivation, says that in his book, Drive, the surprising truth about what motivates us is that this switch from extrinsic to intrinsic fuels monumental shifts globally too, rippling into social movements that change systems. It's crazy, right? Because ultimately, the intrinsically driven want nothing but flow. Extrinsic can corrupt that. So make the shift and then, wait for it, watch your brain start craving the hard stuff. When you take ownership over intrinsically motivating yourself this way, rather than hitting the snooze button to avoid work, you start buzzing with energy to start the day fueled by purpose, mastery, and autonomy. The passion compounds, so fast work feels like play, even when tackling high-stakes projects. Alright, to drive this home even deeper, I've come up with a real-life example so that you can see clearly the contrast between in the flow and out of the flow. Let's just say Michael wants to learn the piano but has struggled to stay motivated. The low motivation approach, which means he has no flow, would mean curiosity. Michael buys a piano book but never opens it to learn songs. Mastery, when he practices, Michael only plays easy tunes and doesn't try advancing skills. Autotelicity, finding songs feels like a chore versus fun. On purpose, Michael sees no deeper reason to learn the piano. On autonomy, he plays only when he is told by others. This uninspired approach leads Michael to skip practice sessions and consider even quitting piano altogether. Now for the high motivation approach, or being in the flow state. On curiosity, Michael explores different genres to discover songs that intrinsically fascinate him. The thrill of learning new melodies fuels further discovery. Mastery, he deliberately practices more complex techniques like chord changes and scales to inch closer to mastery. Tracking incremental progress just thrills him. Autotelicity, Michael feels in flow during practice, immersed in mastering fun tunes, time just zooms by. And for purpose, he learns songs that he can perform for elderly neighbors, giving his practice a greater sense of meaning. Autonomy, with his inner motivation lit, Michael eagerly practices the piano without needing any external pressure. Now, this intrinsic motivation creates an upward spiral where piano becomes an addictive, joyful challenge Michael just yearns to do daily. The internal drive sustains him through long hours of practice to achieve excellence. Now, you can do the same for your work, play, hobby, and whichever it might be. So, are you ready to activate your motivational switch and trick your brain into craving the hard stuff? Which intrinsic motivator resonated with you the most? Did this video give you a aha moment? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.